You're giving a presentation. You know the material, you practice the argument. But suddenly, your mind goes blank. The next point disappears, the structure collapses, and the moment slips away. This isn't a failure of knowledge, it's a failure of recall. Because persuasion doesn't end when the argument is written. The communicator must also remember it. That skill has a name, memory. This is reclaiming rhetoric. Today we're exploring the fourth canon of rhetoric, memory. Because once ideas are discovered, arranged, and expressed clearly, they still have to be stored, retrieved, delivered at the right moment. Memory turns preparation into performance. In the ancient world, memory wasn't optional. Speeches weren't read, they were performed. A Roman orator might speak for an hour or more. Without notes, without slides, without prompts. So rhetoricians developed remarkably sophisticated techniques for remembering complex arguments. Memory became an art. The most famous method was the method of loci, sometimes called the memory palace. Here is how it worked. You imagine a familiar place, a house, a temple, a street. Then you place each part of your speech in a different location. One idea in the doorway, another in the hallway, another in the kitchen. As you speak, you mentally walk through the building. Each location triggers the next idea. The argument unfolds step by step. Space becomes structure, and memory becomes visual. This technique worked because the human brain is extremely good at remembering places. Long before writing, long before books, people navigated landscapes. They remembered paths, landmarks, territory. The memory palace simply borrowed that natural ability, turning spatial memory into rhetorical recall. But memory in rhetoric was never only about remembering words. It was about internalizing ideas, knowing the argument so well that you could adapt, respond to questions, adjust to the audience. When ideas live only on the page, communication becomes rigid. When ideas live in memory, communication becomes flexible. Now consider the modern world. Today, external memory surrounds us. Search engines, cloud storage, smartphones, databases. We no longer need to memorize vast amounts of information. Because information is always accessible. At first glance, it might seem like the rhetorical canon of memory no longer matters. But in reality, memory hasn't disappeared, it has evolved. Think about how digital systems work. Algorithms constantly store information. User behavior, preferences, search history, viewing patterns. Platforms remember what we watched, what we clicked, what we ignored. This is a new kind of rhetorical memory, one that doesn't live in the speaker's mind, but inside computational systems. This shift changes persuasion. Messages can now be retrieved at exactly the right moment. Advertisements appear based on past behavior. Content is recommended based on remembered interests. Algorithms don't just store information, they recall it strategically. Digital memory shapes what messages reach us, and when. But human memory still matters. Because persuasion requires presence, you must remember your argument, your evidence, your structure. If you depend entirely on notes, your attention shifts away from the audience. Strong communicators internalize their message. They don't memorize every word, they remember the architecture, the sequence, the key ideas. Memory becomes a map. There's another dimension, audience memory. Persuasion isn't only about what people hear. It's about what they remember later. Hours later, days later, years later. A message that is instantly understood but quickly forgotten has limited persuasive power. Strong rhetoric lingers. It plants ideas that return to the mind, sometimes long after the speech is over. That's why repetition works, why slogans exist, why powerful phrases endure. Just do it, think different, got milk. These lines survive because they are easy to recall. Style makes them memorable, but memory allows them to persist. Now flip the perspective. If you're communicating, think about memory in two directions. First, can you recall your ideas clearly without relying entirely on notes? Second, what parts of your message will the audience remember? If the answer is nothing, the message needs refinement. Persuasion continues inside the audience's memory. Weak rhetorical memory looks like this. Speakers glued to scripts, arguments forgotten under pressure, messages that evaporate immediately after they are heard. Strong rhetorical memory looks different. Clear structure internalized, ideas recalled naturally. Language designed to stay in the mind. Communication that echoes after the moment ends. So here's the diagnostic tool. When you encounter a persuasive message, ask, what elements are designed to be remembered? What phrases are repeated? What images stay in the mind? What structure makes recall easier? These clues reveal how memory supports persuasion. Because persuasion isn't just about the moment, it's about what lasts. Discovery finds ideas. Arrangement organizes them. Style gives them voice. Memory preserves them. And in a world where both humans and algorithms remember, the power of recall has never been greater. And once you see it, you can't unsee it.